it's Melanie here from Travel Light, and I have just completed the W trek in Patagonia for the fourth time. Before I left for this trip, I made a video all about everything I was taking on my W trek. This video that I'm doing now is a post-trek gear review. So I am going to go through several different categories, things that I am so glad that I brought that I highly recommend you bring as well. I'm going to go through every piece of clothing that I brought because I think that I packed perfectly regarding clothes. So I'm going to show you every piece of clothing that I wore for different scenarios on the trail, for sleeping, etc. And stick around because at the end of this video, I'm going to give you some really important tips for hiking the W trek that I have curated over doing this 4 different times. So this video is going to be awesome. Watch it in conjunction with the video that I made before I left so you have the most perfect rounded picture of exactly what you need to bring on your W trek. So let's get started. Okay, the first category that I'm going to go through is the things that I wore on the W trek. Like I said, I'm going to show you every piece of clothing and accessories, warm accessories that I brought because I did this perfectly, you guys. I did not overpack, I did not underpack. I used everything that I brought, and I think that it's a great basis. I am doing this in November, just so you know. So this is not a winter, this is the Patagonian spring. So the weather was actually fairly nice. And if you're doing this in the winter, you may need a couple extra warm layers, but if you're doing it in the summer, spring, or fall, this packing list and these items will work perfectly for you. So let's take a look. I'll start with the bottoms. These are my trekking pants. They are not fleece lined. They are just regular old trekking pants from REI. I brought one pair. You only need one pair of pants. I know you may think you need more, but if you're carrying your own stuff on your back, bring one pair of pants. Might get stinky towards the end, but that's okay. Everybody is stinky. So one pair of trekking pants and one pair of fleece-lined legging. I loved having these. You may bring a wool base layer instead of these, but I really like these. These are just like some cheap ones that I got from TJ Maxx or something several years ago. The brand is Fila. They're fleece-lined leggings. I wore these when I was sleeping. When I was at the refugios at night, I would take off my trekking pants, take a shower, put these on. And I also wore these when we were going up to the towers at 3 a.m. because it was very cold. These were the perfect additional layer. So 2 pairs of pants. That's 1 pair of hiking pants, 1 pair of fleece-lined warm pants. If you watch my first video, you know that I was considering bringing a pair of shorts. I did not bring the shorts, and I am so glad I didn't bring the shorts because it's very rare in Patagonia that you can have a day hiking in shorts. If you have those convertible hiking pants, those are great because you can zip them off whenever you want. But I would recommend not bringing a pair of shorts because you'll probably carry them around for 5 days and never wear them. Let's talk about socks. I brought 3 pairs of hiking socks. These are all wool, they're all Darn Tough brand from REI, and I brought 3 pairs. That means that I wore 2 of them twice, which was totally fine with me. The wool socks don't smell as much as regular synthetic socks. 3 pairs of socks was the perfect amount of socks for me, plus 1 pair of fleece-lined evening socks. So I wore these every night when I got to the refugio. I would take off my hiking socks. I would put these fleece-lined cozy socks on with a pair of sandals, and and that is what I wore at night at the refugios and to sleep if it was chilly enough to sleep in socks. Okay, let's go with my top layers. I brought 2 t-shirts. I only wore 1, so this is one piece of advice. I think that you can do the entire 5-day W trek wearing 1 t-shirt. I brought this one and another one, and I only wore this one. I only wore this 1 t-shirt. So my recommendation is pack 1 t-shirt. This is the Patagonia Capilene. It's one of my favorite hiking t-shirts that I have. So 1 t-shirt, 1 long sleeve. This has a little hoodie. I think that 1 t-shirt and 1 long sleeve shirt is the perfect combo. If it's chillier, I could hike in this. If it's not chilly at all, I could hike in my t-shirt and then put one of my jackets over it. I would often start in the mornings wearing one of my jackets and take it off throughout the day. And then I have 1 wool, merino wool, smart wool long sleeve, and I would wear this at nighttime at the refugios. I wore this also to the towers because it was really chilly. I wore all of my warmest stuff to go up to the towers. I got hot as hell hiking up to the towers though, because it's uphill the entire way, and started kind of taking some layers off, but I wanted to bring all of my warmest stuff up there because once we got up there, it was freezing. And then my warmest jacket that I brought is this Patagonia. I think it's either the Nano Air or the Nano Puff. It's very old. I bring it on almost every trip because I love it. So this was my warmest top layer, and that was plenty. I was always warm. I never thought, oh, I wish I had another fleece or another jacket or anything like that. Now, if you did watch my first video, you saw that I was considering bringing this cool additional fleece layer. I did not bring it, and I'm so glad I didn't because I didn't need it. Finally, I had my raincoat. I often wore my raincoat as just an additional warm layer. Sometimes even if it wasn't raining, it was just nice to have this wind blocker. In Patagonia, it just kind of drizzles at random times throughout the day, so it was nice to have this on. I wore it a lot when I was hiking. I would kind of unzip it, take it off. You're gonna take on your layers, you're gonna put on and take off your layers constantly in Patagonia. The weather is constantly changing. And I'm talking like summer and winter in the same day, like snowing and then you're laying in the sunshine. You're gonna get used to taking your layers off and on. It's just part of the joys of Patagonia. That is all the clothing that I recommend bringing. And then 2 sports bras and warm stuff. I had a pair of gloves. Highly recommend bring a pair of gloves because again, you never know when the winter's gonna hit you. And then for buffs, I am a big fan of buffs, so I brought 3 different ones. I brought this fleece-lined, cozy one. It's very thick. I wore this a lot in the evenings, and I also wore it at the towers. And then I have a regular, kind of one of those really long buffs. And I pretty much always had this around my neck, often pulled it up over my face when it was chilly in the mornings. And then I have this little tiny half buff that I love using as a headband. One of my favorite items that I took with me is this fleece-lined headband. This is great because it's so windy in Patagonia, and this is just a cozy little addition to keep you extra warm. Sometimes I slept in it when we were camping. We did 2 nights of the camping. They're like fancy tents that they have, and I would sleep in it. I would always start with this in the mornings, and then as it warmed up throughout the day, I would replace it with this little half buff because it's so windy, your hair is kind of blowing in your face. You want something to keep, as a lady, you want something to keep your hair out of your face throughout the day. So that is all of the clothing that I brought. I do not overpack. That's gonna be in my tips later. Do not overpack for this trek. You're gonna be stinky. Everyone's going to be stinky. It's fine, it's cold. You're not sweating a ton because it's pretty cold all the time in Patagonia. So you do not come on this trek and bring 3 t-shirts, 3 long sleeves. Like you just don't need that amount of clothes. If you bring them, you'll probably wear them. You know, I could have changed my shirt every day, sure, but I didn't need to, and it saved me a ton of weight on my back, which makes my body feel better to not have so much weight. So be careful to not overpack. Okay, my next category is gear items and little miscellaneous things that I took with me that I loved having and I would recommend that you take with you as well. We'll start with the KUHL cloth. This is to use less toilet paper on the trail. It is for ladies. If you get a KUHL cloth or another brand off of Amazon or wherever you buy things, you use it, and then at the end of the day, you clean it. And it just saves you from having to use toilet paper on the trail, and you definitely leave no trace. You do not want to leave anything, any trash, any toilet paper on the trail, and the KUHL cloth really helps with that. And then at the end of the day, you wash it with a little bit of soap, you hand wash it, hang it to dry, it's dry in the morning. Lovely little piece of gear that I recommend taking. Next, Vaseline. Vaseline is great for many things. My nose started getting really chapped because I was a little bit sick when we did our trek. So I was blowing my nose a lot, my nose started getting chapped, and also this is for blister prevention. If you have rubbing in your toes, you put some Vaseline there and then it stops the friction and prevents blisters. So always take a little thing of Vaseline with you on your treks. Next, beef jerky. This is from Trader Joe's. We brought it from the States, and it's really nice when you're out on the trail to have some snacks that like some comfort foods from home. So we brought one protein bar for each day, which was lovely. And then we brought some beef jerky and some trail mix. They do sell snacks out there on the trail at the refugios. So you can buy things like Pringles and just various like little local protein bars. But if there's some things that you really like from home, and like beef jerky, I have never seen beef jerky here sold in the stores or anything. So if there's some things you like from home, it's so nice when you just have a really long day. One of the days we hiked almost 19 miles. And when you break out that beef jerky after like 15 miles, it's like, hell yeah, it gives you some energy to keep going. Next, liquid IVs. It was really nice to have these at the end of the day. It can prevent cramping, and they also taste really good. So it helps you to be able to drink more water, and it's hydrating. So liquid IVs, these are the sugar-free ones. I love hiking with these. So we took about one per day per person, and we all enjoyed those. This might be something that you haven't thought about. These are little clips. I bought these on Amazon. They're very lightweight. They're kind of like laundry clips, clothespins. And what you do with these is sometimes your stuff gets wet, or maybe you're washing stuff in the sink, and you can hang. These were really useful several times, especially when we were camping, when we were in the tents. We use these to hang our towels out to dry and to hang our socks so that they would dry if our socks got wet during the day. So if you take a handful of these clothing pins on the W Trek, you'll end up using them, and you'll be glad that you had them, especially if it rains and a lot of your stuff gets wet. Next, a hanky. I am going to become the girl on the internet who uses a hanky. It's going to be my reputation. I already feel it happening, and I'm proud of it, because having a hanky on a hiking trip, there are many uses for it. I blow my nose a lot when I'm hiking, and I keep it in my hip belt pocket. Sometimes when you're hiking, you get the sniffles, and you want to have a hanky. I want to have a hanky. So I highly recommend investing in a hanky. That's all I'm going to say about that. The next item is hot hands. These we used for going up to the towers. It was really nice to have. When we went up to the towers, it was like a blizzard. It was snowing, it was freezing. It was like 5:30 a.m. when we got there. It was dark. So having hot hands, even though we had to carry them around, if you get a really cold day, they're just nice to have. They're just plain nice to have. So I recommend bringing one pair per person. Next, I'll tell you about my sleeping items that I'm really glad I brought. If you watch my channel, you know that sleep is really important to me. So these are the things that I bring to help me sleep better. A cozy eye mask. When you're sleeping in the refugios, somebody might be coming in at 10 p.m., 11 p.m., whatever, turning on the lights. You sleep so much better if you have an eye mask. This one is really nice. It's got indents for the eyes, so it's very comfortable. It's like memory foam on the outside. It's kind of fancy. Next, I had NyQuil. Since I was sick, this kept me from coughing during the night, and I recommend bringing some NyQuil just in case anyone's feeling under the weather so you can get great sleep. Also some cough drops. Since I was not feeling good, I would wake up in the middle of the night, my throat was kind of scratchy. I'd put in a cough drop. It would keep me from coughing in the dorm rooms. Yep, love having those. And finally, my last sleep item, earplugs. These are Max silicone earplugs I got them on Amazon. They are literally like, I put them in and it's just like, okay, I'm asleep almost instantly, because it almost like, in a weird way, it kind of like creates your own white noise. It's kind of like a shh, I don't know how to describe it, but these are a game changer. Everyone I share them with is like, because I always bring a few extras, and when I share them with people, they're like, oh my gosh, I couldn't hear anything. Like, you literally can't hear anything. So somebody needs to be in charge of the alarm if you're setting an alarm to wake up, because like my alarm will be right by my head and I can't hear it. If there's a fire, somebody wake me up, please. The next thing I'm glad I brought is my headlamp. This is a inexpensive Energizer brand headlamp from Amazon, and I like it because it's rechargeable, so you don't have to worry about carrying, like the headlamp that Enzo has 4 AAA batteries. First off, those are heavy. That headlamp is heavy as heck. This one is very lightweight and it's inexpensive. I think it was like 25 bucks. And it works great. Another tip is to test out your headlamp before you start, because Several people, when we were going up to the tower, several people in our group were like, oh shoot, I haven't worn this headlamp ever. It seems like the batteries are dull or like the light was dull. So you want to test out your headlamp before you start your trek to make sure that you're going to be able to see in the dark using that headlamp. And this Energizer one has just been really good to me. The next item on my list of things that I loved having is this really tiny battery charger, battery pack. The brand is Misso, M-I-I-S-S-O. I got it on Amazon. It has two different plugs right here in it. So it has your lightning cable, your iPhone, and then your USB-C for the newer iPhones. And it's the most lightweight charger I have ever had. Works great. So highly recommend bringing one of these, especially if you're camping because you don't have an outlet next to you while you're camping. This is highly optional, but Monopoly Deal is a really fun game. And when you get to the Refugios a little bit early, you have a couple hours before dinner, a deck of cards or specifically Monopoly Deal will just be really fun, and you could share with other people, make some friends. Highly recommend bringing a card game of sorts. The last item I want to tell you about that I enjoyed having is this Sea to Summit Thermalite sleeping bag liner. I used this, actually I did not use this in the Refugios because the blankets seem really clean, the beds seem really clean, and they had this really warm comforter. But if you are camping during your W trek, and we use the preset tents, so they give you a sleeping bag, and then this liner adds additional warmth, and it's just more comfortable and kind of keeps you clean because they don't clean those sleeping bags after every person sleeps in them every night. So you know somebody has been sleeping in that sleeping bag before you, and you just curl up into your cozy little liner, and it just makes you, at least me, feel a little bit cleaner about sleeping in the sleeping bags, and it also just adds a lot of warmth. Sometimes they say how much warmth they add, so for the W trek in particular, get one that is adding warmth to you. Okay, my next category is very short, and it is things that I wish I had. I told you in the first video that I made that I was taking this little sunscreen, and it's a sunscreen stick that you kind of rub on your cheeks. It's really small, so I like that it fits in my hip belt pocket, and I can reapply sunscreen as I'm walking or just throughout the day very easily. But what I wish I would have also brought is an actual liquid sunscreen. Just because it goes on easier, the stick is very thick and kind of hard to rub in. So I wish I would have brought a liquid sunscreen, and that is what I got here in Puerto Natales. And this brand is Leblon. I got it at a pharmacy and it was only $2. It was like 1,900 Chilean pesos. So they do sell cheap sunscreen here. Another pharmacy we went to, it was very expensive, so look for this brand in particular. It's SPF 50. That is the only thing that I wish I would have brought on my W trek is a liquid sunscreen. My final category is tips for packing and for doing the W trek. Like I said, I've done this trek 4 times. I'm getting ready to do it for my 5th time, and I have learned a lot over the years and over the times doing this trek. So my first tip for you is do not overpack. One awesome thing about this trek is that you do get to use your day pack several times. I'll talk about that in a minute. When you do have your regular pack, there's a lot of incline, a lot of uphill, a lot of downhill, and the less stuff that you have in your backpack, the more comfortable you'll be, the more you'll be enjoying it, the less you'll be like, why did I bring all of this stuff? I didn't need 4 shirts or whatever it is. So, luggage scale, get this on Amazon, weigh your backpack and make sure that you don't overpack. I recommend bringing under 22 pounds. So when I weighed my backpack right before this W trek, it weighed 21 pounds with about, I think I had like 2.5 liters of water. Water weighs a lot. I will get to that in another tip. But first tip is do not overpack. Watch my packing videos. Bring exactly what I'm telling you to bring. Weigh your stuff to make sure that if your backpack weighs 30 pounds and you are not used to carrying a backpack of that weight, you are going to have a harder time. Try to get your weight with water, with a couple liters of water, under 22 pounds. And that is my tip number 1. Tip number 2, do not carry too much water. Like I said, a liter of water weighs 2.2 pounds. It's Liquid is the heaviest thing that you can put in your backpack unless you're collecting rocks. Be careful with bringing too much water. You do not need to walk around the W with 3 liters of water. There is water everywhere. There are beautiful crystal clear streams that you can fill up at pretty much at any time. I recommend doing the W track with 1 liter of water at all times, filling up along the streams. And the water vessels that I take with me, which I highly recommend both of these, is the Platypus bottle. It's a reusable plastic bottle that you can fill up, and then when you're done with it, you can fold it and just stick it in your pocket. It stands on its own when it's full. I love this bottle, and everybody that I recommend it to loves it as well. So that's a great piece of gear. And then I also, this is kind of a controversial item. I always hike with a bladder. And this bladder holds up to 2.5 liters, but I never really fill it over 1.5 liters. And for the W, again, you'll be good with 1 liter because you can fill up at any stream along the way. This is kind of controversial because some people don't like to, like you have to kind of finagle it to get it to fit into your bag, and sometimes it just feels like kind of a hassle to fill this up. But I personally enjoy it. I fill it up in the mornings. There's taps at all of the refugios, so you can fill this up very easily, slide it into your bag, and then you can drink while you're walking instead of asking someone, hey, like, can you get my water bottle out, and having to stop. I love drinking while I'm actually walking so that I don't have to stop as much. And yeah, highly recommend bringing a Camelback bladder. Tip number 3 is to get ultra light everything. Pretty much everything starting with your backpack should be an ultra light version of whatever it is. For example, this is my little towel. It is teeny tiny and I love it. I've just got this very recently and I'm so glad that I went from having like one of those big microfiber towels to just this little bitty guy because it saves me weight, which makes me happy. Again, starting with your backpack should be an ultralight backpacking bag. Backpacks vary a lot in weight. So you could get a backpack that would weigh up to 6 to 7 pounds on its own, or you can get a backpack that weighs 3 to 4 pounds, and that makes a huge difference when you're trying to get your pack weight like 22 pounds or less. So make sure that starting with the backpack, you go ultralight as much as possible. My next tip for hiking the W, tip number 4, is to put all of your stuff in plastic bags. So when I am hiking, when I'm packing my backpack, I put this kitchen-sized trash bag in first, almost as like a liner, and then I fill it with whatever, like with my packing cubes and my toiletries and all that stuff, tie it at the top, and it's just an additional waterproofing mechanism that's really cheap, obviously, and easy to bring with you. And then also for waterproofing, different size Ziploc bags. These are good for all kinds of stuff, for collecting your trash along the trail. So bring a few different size Ziploc bags from home. And this takes me also into tip number 5, which is to keep your passport with your PDI paper when you first get to Chile. They give you this receipt when you go through immigration. It says PDI on the top of it. They don't tell you this, but it's very important that you keep this little piece of paper because they ask for it all along the W Trail. So the next tip is to keep your passport really handy because you will need it every time you check in at the refugios with that little PDI receipt inside of it. That also is I have this waterproof dry sack that I keep my passport in. Just because it's a different color than all my stuff, it's very easy for me to see where it's at in my bag. I can grab it easily, and I keep it in the very top of my bag, all nice and waterproofed so that I have easy access to these items so that you don't have to, after a long day of hiking, dig all your stuff out of your bag. Oh my gosh, where's my passport? I put it at the bottom on accident. Keep your passport handy. Tip number 6 is to bring an ultralight day pack with you. There are several opportunities on the W Track to hike with just your day pack. You can leave your big backpack at the Italiano Ranger Station and take just your day pack up to the Britannico Lookout. So I recommend that you get an ultralight day pack. Don't bring some big, bulky day pack. This is like $20, maybe $25 on Amazon. The brand is 4 Monster. I've had this for several years. I think it holds up great. You would think it doesn't have any structure, but I promise this is more comfortable than it looks for a day pack. That is my next tip, is to bring an ultralight day pack, because it saves you so much weight from having to carry that big backpack around all the time. When you do take your day pack, you're going to want to pack things like snacks, your lunch, sunscreen, your rain layers, hat, and all of that stuff fits nicely into this day pack here. Tip number 7 is only bring a hat that has a string on it. It's so windy in Patagonia. I've seen so many hats go flying off of people's heads, and you may never see it again. So if you're going to bring a hat, which you should, to keep the sun out of your face on a sunny day, make sure that it has a string attached to it. My final tip for you for hiking the W Trek is to bring a pair of trekking poles, and this might be surprising to you, but keep an eye on them, and possibly I think it would be a good idea to write your name on them or put some kind of identifying tie or mechanism around them, because at our first stop we had our gear, we were at Refugio Gray, we had all of our gear in a luggage closet while we went out and did a glacier trekking experience with Bigfoot, and that's the name of the company, not actual Bigfoot, and somebody actually stole a pair of our poles that were rental poles from Puerto Natales out of that gear closet, which is shocking because it is very uncommon for anyone to steal anything here. I've even heard stories of somebody losing their wallet and having it returned to them with all of their cash and credit cards and everything in it. So it's very unusual, but I do recommend having a pair of trekking poles for this hike, because there's a lot of up and downhill, and it'll save your joints, it'll save your knees especially, and also to tag them in some way so that it is very obvious that they are yours and nobody will steal them. I don't know why there is pole stealing happening, but keep an eye on your poles. You may want to just keep them close. And if you tie something around them, I think it'll be way less likely for anybody to want to take those poles from you. So that is my final tip. Okay, so that sums up my post-trek gear review. I hope that you find this super valuable. I love making these videos. If you get value from this, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It means a lot every time you subscribe or comment or like. It really helps us a lot on this journey. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I hope you have an incredible W Trek. Happy trails.